Can you hear me now?
Ben,
Excellent.
you are also live. I went on a little bit earlier. I don't know if anyone's around, but we'll see. Say hello. You're in the chat. You look like you're in bed, Tori.
I am. So I actually threw my back out on Wednesday.
Oh, shit.
And so, I'm walking now. Wednesday night and Thursday morning, I was not walking by myself.
Damn.
But I'm still not, comfortable enough in the office chair. I have to sit in it later this afternoon anyways. And I was like, you know what? You get
in bed.
Informal Sunday Tori.
You and Ben have a very impressive bed.
It was a gift from both sets of parents when we got married. Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's got the cool.
Yeah. That's a serious bed.
It is. It is incredibly heavy, and it is,
I can imagine,
hard to, when we were in college, we rented a house next to the campus for 3 years while we were married and still going to school. Right. And you had to go up this really narrow staircase and then turn around in a little landing and then go into the bedroom. So for the 3 years, this bed just stayed at my parents' house because there was absolutely no way we were getting it up the stairs and around the landing. So.
Yo, Rogue. Rogue is a Sprint addict, I think.
I think so. I mean, I am too. I can't.
Yeah. I don't think I've done a Sprint so far that Rogue didn't turn up for. So.
Well, it's probably also because I know Rogue, I think, is more on the West Coast time zones.
Okay.
And so usually it matches up better when it's earlier in the day, I think.
Right.
Maybe.
I had the same thing moving furniture. I have a wardrobe which is really tall and quite wide. And the guys helping me move, friends, we all sort of went up and down the stairs, looked at everything. We're like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then we got it halfway down the stairs and figured out first of all, it was stuck. It was braced against the floor and the ceiling, which was actually lower than we thought. And then we managed to get it out of being stuck, took it back up to the flat. And then the creative guys I was with, one of them was like, I've got some rope in my car. And we tied it up and lowered it from the third floor window down the side of the building.
Wow.
And it worked. Ireland. Yeah.
Ireland. Well, I was way off. Sorry, Rogue.
But it means he's almost in, I assume it's a he, in the same time zone as me.
Yeah.
1 hour off. Hello, Jerome, who is in the same time zone as me. And Pascal Vögli, I assume, is maybe in Switzerland with a name like Vögli. It sounds very Swiss German.
Swiss.
Confirm my guess for me, Pascal. I'm not sure. I could be way off. What are you reading? I am into the second book of Live Ship Traders, which is awesome. Rogue is a he. Yes.
Hoping to read that later this year.
And I guessed right. Vögli just had to be Swiss to me. I remember the first time I was in Switzerland, I speak fluent German, and I was there with a German friend, and we sat down to dinner with a whole bunch of Swiss people, and they would turn to us and speak German, and then they would turn to each other and speak Swiss German. And it's technically German, but I understood every 10th word.
Yes.
Dan.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We
can.
Dan. How are you, man? Actually, I saw Jerome that you were reading that, and I wanted to comment on the name. Servants of the Wank? Really? I mean, it's not American.
I'm going for wonk here. That's
yeah.
How I'm reading it. That's how I want to read it after.
I'm guessing it's probably intended as wonk, but Like, as an author, like, why would you choose a word like that? I don't know.
There are some choices that fantasy authors make that that was a choice. That was a choice that you made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a total choice.
Pascal Vögli says, "Call me Birdie," which I understand, but English speakers probably don't. Vogel is bird in German. Or Vogel is bird in German, and Vögel is Vögel. It's also, in Germany anyway, Vögeln, if you make bird into a verb, it means sex.
Huh.
Like having sex. It's kind of a polite way of... It's not.
See,
like
this is why
it's...
learning new languages scares me, because if you pronounce it slightly wrong or use it in a way that's also slang, you're going to get in trouble really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jerome says it was once renamed to Servants of the Wenach, which doesn't ring any like slang bells. So
I mean, that's mildly better.
yeah, Vance.
That's fair.
Yeah, it was a different time. I mean, he was writing in 50s, I'm guessing, that book. I'm not sure. Oh my God.
Evie.
Hello.
We have a full house, a nice organized little grid of 2x2. How you doing, Evie?
I am good. Spoiler alert, I will have to drop at 2 or a little bit before 2 since we're doing a City of Dragons discussion over underneath this channel.
Right. Cool. I was thinking about tuning in for that, but I was like, I've read it, but it's a reread. And it's been a long time, and I don't really remember the Dragon series that well, so I don't want to like remind myself of things I otherwise wouldn't know. Joanna, welcome. I was assuming you don't have time because you so rarely have time when I do a sprint, but I will send you a link if you would like to join us on screen. That's always nice. No harm done if you don't want to. And Theo also said he might join a little bit later. So, very full. Wow, that's a cat.
Yeah, she's a chunky lady.
Yeah.
And fluffy.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say probably half of it is hair, but
Yeah. She's 10 pounds. She's not super chunky, but she's,
okay.
It's all fluff.
Yeah.
She's not small.
And
Yeah.
she's gone.
Hello, Daniel. What is everybody reading these sprints? I already said I'm working on Madship, second book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, and it rocks. Blood in the Mist. Oh,
Nice.
I bought that recently.
You said you did read it recently?
I bought it recently. I didn't read it yet.
Yeah, I finally crossed the halfway point, and like the writing style is antiquated.
It was written in the 1920s, so
Yeah, but it feels even more antiquated than like 19th century classics. Like,
okay.
so it was really hard for me to get through. But all of a sudden, in the past like probably 20 pages or so, there's been like this shift. The writing style is the same, but it's just like it's getting very much plot focused right now, and I'm like, all right, cool. This is
Okay.
cool.
So
Nice.
you're liking it. Joanna is not prepared to come
What
on
a
screen.
what a party animal, Joanna.
Yeah. She wrecked herself last night apparently. So
I saw the
zero
pictures,
reading.
Joanna. You were in a huge crowd of people. It was like a legit festival. Like, oh,
Cool. Arman tuning in from India. Hello, Arman. I haven't been to India for a long time, but I spent 3 months there back in the 90s and got to know it relatively well, a little more than an average tourist, but Elaine is reading Dresden.
Hi, Elaine.
I read, I want to say up to book 10 in Dresden ages ago when that was all that was out, and I've got catching up to do. If you like Lud, try The Elfin Ship by James Blaylock. You can always count on Jerome to give you a recommendation for something you've never heard of.
I am literally looking it up right now.
That's awesome.
The Elfin Ship. I have heard of that, and I've heard of James Blaylock, but I don't know anything about it or the author. Pascal is reading Shadow Rising and Im Westen nichts Neues, which is All Quiet on the Western Front. The Wind-Up Girl. Paolo Bacigalupi. I don't know how to pronounce that properly.
Bacigalupi, maybe?
Yeah, Bacigalupi. Probably. Yeah, I've actually heard good things about that. Dystopian sci-fi set in Thailand. This is something I have very often heard, Daniel, that Dresden is supposed to get good, but I gave up before finishing book 3. I was actually just talking 2 days ago. I was talking to an offline friend about Dresden, and they said the same thing. Yeah. Festival was for Joanna's husband, anniversary. He went to Beethoven for her, so she went to a rock festival for him.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Speaking of classical music, hello, Bex. That was an aside. Sorry, I got distracted.
Hi, Bex.
But speaking of classical music, as part of the Alan's 10K live stream thing, when I asked Christina what her favorite Schubert piece was, she mentioned it, and so I looked it up, and I've been listening to it basically like ever since then. Like, I can see why it's her favorite, and apparently I am at least into Schubert now. At least that piece.
Okay.
So
Nice.
Right, Evie, please write the name in the chat.
yes. And then also I've been listening to, by extension, in the past like 24 hours, I've been listening to Chopin's Nocturnes. So
I was just about to jump in on that. I'm more of a Chopin kind of guy with
Nice.
when I read, at least, solo piano. I can. That's
yeah,
how
instrumentals and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So Spotify has some great playlists as well with coffee house piano or whatever it may be. But when I read, I like piano. That's typically what I listen to.
There is a super cool book that someone gave me, I think 2 years ago for Christmas or birthday or something. And it's not unpacked yet. I can't see it on my shelf, and I can't remember exactly what it's called. But I think it's called Classic for Every Day or something. Basically a year long. Each page is a date and then a piece of classical music. And then a short text about the piece. So it gives you some background, how it was, what was going on in the composer's life and that kind of thing. And that really got me into a lot of classical music that I'd never listened to before. Because it's just like every day you just flip open it or just flip randomly and pick a piece and listen to it.
Nice.
Right.
Jorun didn't get past 4. But Elaine has always loved Dresden since the beginning.
I really haven't given Dresden a go yet.
It's fun. I mean, it's modern world, but with magic and werewolves and vampires and shit.
I heard about the skull that's in his apartment or something. That sounds kind of cool. That guy seems Sam, or I'm not sure what it is. Or if that's an animal companion.
Bob.
Sam.
Bob, I think, is the...
Bob, that's it, yeah. Bob the Skull, yeah.
Yeah. And Bob is... it's not clear what exactly Bob is, but it's a sentient speaking magical skull. Caio tuning in from Brazil. 50% on Memories of Ice. I was just looking in the Discord, in the Grimoire Discord, the Memories of Ice read along channel, and I was catching up on that this morning actually. And I'm so happy to see so many people falling in love with that book. It was so
Yeah, that's the one I'm on. Though
Memories of Ice, so
I didn't
good.
pick it up. I didn't pick it right up because I had some read-alongs going on with a few people, and I'm getting to Empire of Silence and Blood Meridian, and
Oh, wow.
I'm just itching to get back into Memories of Ice. Though I feel like I've already in 100 pages. Like I feel like I have to go back and read it all over again. Because I put it down for a whole month.
I was recommending this to someone on the channel, on the read along channel this morning. There is a really, really, really good Malazan resource. It's on the Tor website, and it's called the Malazan Reread of the Fallen. And it's two readers, one a rereader, one a first time, and they go through basically every chapter with one blog post of all 10 books. It's massive. There are, of course, millions of blog posts, but it's a really good way to catch up because the first thing they do is just summarize what happened, and then they discuss what they thought of it. And then there's a huge comment section as well. So it's a really, really good resource if you're reading anything Malazan. Joanna says, listen to Erlkönig by Schubert.
I keep wanting to suggest to Derry that we do like a chapter by chapter discussion of Realm of the Elderlings from the beginning, but then I get like sucked in and I cannot stop myself at a chapter. I just have to keep keep going. So
you could do it grouped. I mean, if you did a video for like every 5 chapters or something like that. Pascal, I'm not sure what you mean. Not pronounced chopping?
Chopping.
Oof.
What I listen to?
Listen, I am an ignorant, uncultured American. I don't want to be even more of one. So
I'm pretty sure if you're saying that you're uncultured,
I made sure I got that name right too. I'm glad you said Chopin because I put it in a chat one time and it was Chopin, and whoever, I think I was on a live with somebody and they pronounced it as Chopin. I'm like, oh no, it's Chopin or whatever.
Chopin's Raindrop.
Like Schubert.
I think I would be definitely guilty of somebody who would say Chopin for sure.
Just makes me think of that Chop It. You remember that Chop It from like back in the day, the TV like things? Yeah. Chop It. Good old Chop It.
I'm sure he had one of those.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think it was named for him.
Has anybody read the Black Guard by A.J. Smith?
Nope.
I've heard of the author name though.
So one of my subscribers bought this for me months ago. And he texted me on Friday. Like, I already have read-alongs for people, and I'm, like, into what I'm already doing, He texted me. He's like, bro, like, can you just do me a favor and read the first chapter of this book? I'm like, sure, no problem. You bought it for me? Yes, definitely. And the first chapter, mind you, was like 50 pages. And I kept saying, when is this ending? But man, the first chapter gripped me. It had this night that really reminded me of a Song of Ice and Fire type nights. Not a good dude, a drunk, a womanizer type thing, and it's already got me hooked.
If you're surprised by the chapter length, wait till you get to the Bone Hunters. Chapter 7 in the Bone Hunters is 128 pages long.
Oh my god. I'm that guy that will continue to look ahead.
It's one of the best chapters I've ever read in fantasy. It's so good. Okay. Joanna says, actually, it's Choppin' Opus
Actually.
25, number 2. That is indeed Dan the Man, Kevin
Hey,
Reese.
Kev, how we doing, brother?
Good to see you, Kev.
Hey, Kev.
So, are we here to read or what?
Yeah, that's.
I just showed up. I just clicked the link. I don't know.
I just showed up.
Ah,
I just showed up.
You guys read.
Another Choppin correction. Joanna says it's actually number 15, not number 2.
Freaking classical music and their numbers. Listen,
Yeah, well,
I'm not a math major.
Somebody earlier, where was it?
No, Bach has numbers, doesn't he?
I feel like they all have numbers.
Symphony number or something. Like, can you give it a name, please? Like, there's some artist and giving something a title.
Drop it like it hot. There you go.
That would be drop it like it's hot. Number 21.
Yeah, she just knows it is reindeer. I can't find it right now, but somebody said earlier that Chopin himself never. Oh, there. Other people named, it was Daniel. Other people named them because Chopin himself wouldn't name anything, so it was all just a bunch of numbers. Fair.
I mean, one of you authors, you need to come out with something like this. Like, don't give your book a name. Just write,
Well, I mean, Mark Lawrence kind of did it. He just says that his book is the book that wouldn't burn. So I'm going to put it to the test.
That's true. The book that wouldn't burn, Symphony 2 or something,
Oh, that reminds me. Just recently, Broken Binding had a special edition of that book, which I tried to get, and it was sold out. I was too late. But
of the book that wouldn't burn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the big news from Broken Binding is they are doing the 10-book Malazan Book of the Fallen. All of them.
Did you guys see that?
Special edition hardbacks.
What do I have to do? What did you do, Matt? You subbed with them? What did you do?
The subscription, the Malazan stuff is not going through the subscription, or at least not only.
Okay.
They know that there's enough of an audience. They're going to produce a lot of them. They're going to sell them openly. Okay. What you have to do, though, is pay attention when it gets released for general sale and buy it in the first 30 seconds. Because it will sell out. The other thing, which I was thinking about, I'm not sure I can do this, but because I'm on the subscription now, I get access to buying their special editions before it goes on public sale.
Got it.
Right? They have 2 tiers of subscription. I'm on tier 2. Tier 1 gets access first for a day, and then the next day, tier 2 gets access, and the next day it goes on public sale. So I was wondering if I'm actually able to buy multiple copies.
I would doubt it.
I think it's probably only one.
Yeah.
But I was thinking then I could grab a few for friends. But I mean, the postage to the US from here,
gosh, is awful.
Is about as much as the book costs. So kind of like doubles the price of the book. So
yep. I'm just crossing my fingers that I can get, because I'm afraid they're going to sell out in like.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, and I'm just. And the other thing is, if
Paris tour tickets all over again,
right? If you get, say, like you manage to get Gardens of the Moon, and then Dead House Gates comes out, and you don't get it, and then you have to
that sucks.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, luckily with the subscription, I will, as long as I'm paying attention and I'm quick. Because I think they only do a certain contingent for tier 1 and another certain contingent for tier 2. So tier 2 can sell out in seconds as well. Kev says he'll be surprised if they make it. See, this is the thing, Kev. I think, like I just said, I think they set aside X number for tier 1 and then X number for tier 2, and then they've got the rest for public sale.
Well, I would assume, but you know what they say about assuming, is that they are ordering enough for subscribers, like assuming that every single subscriber wants a copy, and then X number more than that. So like they may have
exactly.
more because not every subscriber may not want Malazan.
I mean, they could easily produce, I think, 10,000 of each book and sell them easy.
Yep.
And they certainly don't have 10,000 subscribers. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm hoping for everyone's sake that they really generously produce on this one, because it'll sell out no matter how many they have. I don't really have any worries.
And honestly, like, I don't know. I would love obviously to have a full set, but I'm not super special editions are kind of like, because they're just shelf ornaments for me for the most part, and so I don't get as like, oh my gosh, I need these, but I would really like to get Dead House Gates if I can.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
Yep. Yeah. Kev says they've not done it that way before. I mean, no matter what they do, if they're calculate, I mean, they can calculate at least with subscriber number. They know how many subscribers there are. So they can produce enough for all of the subscribers plus for general sale. And if subscribers really are only allowed to buy one copy each, then I don't know. We'll see.
Kev, they just released Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty, and they had 2,000 copies of that from what they said. So maybe they're printing more now.
Yeah, considering the response they got on Twitter when they announced it, I think it would be very wise of them to do at least 5,000 of gardens.
Yeah. So there's at least a chance.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. So why don't we sprint a little? I will set up the banner. Go until, let's say, on the hour. Yeah. Good reading, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
Bennett, I don't think any of us are reading Malazan right now.
Not yet.
Nope. I need to get back to it, but
I have one read in between finishing Before They Are Hanged and Malazan, and then I will probably be picking up Gardens.
I'm up to Reaper's Gale, which is 1,200 pages. So I've been struggling with the timing of where I can fit that. Evie wrote that she may come back later, but she has another chat that she's meant to be in, so she took off while we were reading. That's why Anitha was here yelling at Evie. Evie! So what is everybody else reading? How is it going?
I'm about a little over 2/3 of the way into Before They Are Hanged, Joy Abercrombie.
And?
Loving it.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah. The first book I liked. Had some things with it.
Yeah.
Book 2 I'm absolutely loving. Huge step up from book 1 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Empire of Silence right now.
Mm.
I'm saying about 100 pages in that, and
that's high on my list.
Same.
It is very good. The writing is amazing, in my opinion. And I'm 50 pages into Blood Meridian,
which can be a difficult read. I've heard. I haven't read it, but
there's no parentheses when people speak. There's some run-on sentences. But it is gripping. Maybe it's more about what I've heard about the book that keeps me, wanting to be interested and wanted to keep moving on. But every time I walk by it, I want to pick it up because I just want to see where it's going and how he's going to say it. It's quite well done.
Yeah, that's one of the things I keep saying lately about The Spear Cuts Through Water. Is it's just written in a style and structure that is, in my experience, unique. Mm-hmm. And that to me alone is pretty exciting. And it's well written, it's a good story, but it's just a new thing, and that is kind of cool. Kayla says she's reading Demon in White and cannot put it down.
That's book 3 in Sun Eater. So. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. That. I can't see my Yeah, it is book 3.
Yeah.
Howling Dark is 2, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. But it's
that's
interesting.
The case, I fucked up. I did. I bought I'm sorry, folks. I bought Demon in White. I'm sorry. I bought Empire of the Silence. And then I bought Demon in White thinking it was the next book.
I think it's Howling Dark.
Okay.
At least you didn't start the third book before the second book.
That could have been confusing.
I'm so glad I got you guys.
You can still buy a second book and read it before the third one. So no harm.
The happy part of me is I'm not supposed to buy any more physical copies of books since I have a Kindle now. But I'm gonna have to go to my wife, say, hey, listen, I made a mistake.
Those are not the same thing.
Yeah. Right. I have to keep this collection together.
Yeah.
And I bought the third book on purpose so I can buy the second book now.
You can tell her that it's actually a law of BookTube that you can't have a shelf and have book 1 and book 3 next to each other.
And just have book 2 on your Kindle. That's worse than having a mismatched set almost. Yeah.
No, that's not allowed. That's no good. I really want to read those. And actually, with the physical book problem, I just ordered another shelf. So I'll be installing another shelf this week.
I probably am going to need another shelf this year. Although I have been unhauling. I did go through my shelves and get rid of some of the books that either I was keeping but knew I wasn't going to read again, or, excuse my hooligans, or sometimes there's those books that you buy and you're like, I'm going to read this someday. And then you finally have to be realistic with yourself and say, I'm not really that interested to read this.
Yeah.
I'm just
Logan's rubbing off on her over here.
Right?
You have to be realistic about these
Gotta
things.
be realistic about these things. So yeah, I'm taking it to heart. I'm taking some lessons from the First Law troop over here. And you know, you got to ask yourself, why do I do this? Why do I do this? It's for the good ones, right? Mm-hmm. So just make the trip around each of the characters.
Bennett said that the trilogy is like one big book.
Yep, I can see that already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've got kind of a setup book, a middle stuff
and
happening
it's
book.
A good setup book. You know, like I think it was a 3.5 star, pretty solid 3.5 star read for me. Glockta was 5 stars. Everything else was kind of not as much. This one is
kind of everybody's favorite.
I know, and I was trying really hard not to be basic, but it didn't work. This one basically just has stars to lose at this point. So
it's not going to.
I mean, if it ends the way it's been going so far, I don't think it's gonna. So.
I do have a curious conversation if anybody's interested in helping me out, I guess. I see tabs in your book. Matt, do you make notes when you read? Like what do you do?
So a lot of people are very organized with their tabs, and they utilize like the different colors as different markers of different things. I have not done that, only because I would forget every time what color is for what. So I just tab things. It's usually passages that I'm really impressed by, or usually if I have red tabs, and I'll use those if I'm like, wait a second, wasn't a big fan of this part. But most of these are like, this one is currently my favorite chapter in the 2 books I've read so far. And I wanted to mark it so I could find it easily, but I've been marking mostly just lines and things that I really like. So I should be more organized than that, but I'm not.
How about you, Matt? What do you do when you read? Do you take notes, or?
I tab. I usually only tab difficult books. Books that are a bit challenging, or where I might want to come back to something and read it again or whatever. So like with this read along with Philip, reading The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe, it's a tricky book, and I've been tapping heavily. And what I also do is I stuck a Post-it or 2 Post-its in the back of the book. So every now and then I'll tab something, and then I'll write the page number and a really short note to myself in the back, because I know we're going to have a chat about it as well, and I want to be able to quickly go back to a thing and find something. So I'm kind of making myself a list of things to discuss when we have a chat. So, you know, I can bring up, hey, there was this really weird passage about how Severian treats women, because Severian treats women really badly. And then I've got a page number. I can jump back to it and read something, and but usually I don't. What I do, I have like a note-taking app on my phone running all the time, and while I'm reading, I will often start writing my notes for the review in there. Yeah, so like, especially I have the list that I do in every review, and as I'm reading along, if something cool pops up or weird or whatever, I'll write it in the review notes for the review. But yeah, I don't tab everything.
No.
tab when I think about it, and when I feel like, okay, it's a complicated enough book that I really need to work on it a little more than just a quick read.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I I started, when I started doing book reviews on Goodreads, which was I got my Goodreads account. I reviewed the books that I had read within the few years, and then I would say like 2 weeks later, I started a channel to review books, and ever since then, I have to take these notes, especially if I'm going to put something out there. I want somebody to like this book I'm reading, and I want to know what I'm talking about, or have something to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
But I scribble in my books like a 3-year-old, does a Denny's placemat. I do not like. There's writing all over my books and stuff like that. Like
Oh, man.
I write in these days. If it's a hardback, obviously I'm not going to write in it. But if it's like a paperback, I'm scribbling all over these things.
I know people who just had a heart attack.
Yeah, I knew there were people out there like that. It's like, dude, I'm unfollowing this guy. Like, really, you write in your books, man? No way.
I've also said that. Like, I don't. Well, this isn't a great example. You can't really see it, but my Malazan books, you can almost not read the spine anymore because they're so creased. And for me, that's actually. I have a thing in my head. I like objects more, any object, if they feel used.
Yeah.
Like if I know that the object has a history.
Well loved.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
I like history that you can see in an object. So the most exciting physical part of reading a book for me, paperback, is the first time I'm far enough in that I can get a good crease in the spine. That first like yes, okay, now I'm really into the book. And
Yeah.
I said that in a video once, and some people were just like, "You're sick.
You're a
What is
horrible
wrong
person."
with you?"
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the reasons I do enjoy buying books secondhand too, because I feel like, because so much about reading and writing is the connection of storytelling, right? And it's such a cool thing. So like getting this and seeing like that it's already been on someone's shelf and it's been read, and like it's almost like a disconnected but shared experience in a way.
Yeah.
Like somebody else really enjoyed this, now it's my turn. So that's kind of cool.
There's also for me, because I'm quite visual, some of the books I remember the best in my entire life were books that, for example, were in a holiday house on the shelf. You know how you rent a holiday house and they leave like 10 books that nobody wants on the shelf? I read some of those during a holiday, and just because of how they looked, like I love the way I love a well-designed cover, but I also love the look of a book that has been around for a while.
So I just had Ben hand me, I was at a secondhand sale a long time ago, and I've never read anything by Guy Gavriel Kay yet, but I picked up this copy of Tigana for that exact reason. Like, it made me so happy to see how loved this copy was. And I was like, I want that one, because that just looks like a book that has had a good time and been well enjoyed. So when I read Tigana, it'll be and it's like,
and
the
it's got
slightly
a used book sticker on the cover.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if I share your affinity for well-used books, guys, because so when I started this really avid reading journey, I bought every book that I read, and now finally I have enough books where I can make like a cool shelf with some knickknacks in it, and some I know Daniel Green isn't a fan of Pops, but I love me some Pops, set up the shelves with this and that. And I really want to buy a special edition of A Song of Ice and Fire. Because when you look at, there is some nostalgia, I guess, with that series, because I would think the first series I picked up when I really got back into reading in my later age. And like I got caught in a storm, and Storm of Swords got caught in the storm with me, and it's drenched.
I've seen your Storm of Swords.
Yeah, I gotta go get it.
It looks like it's been war.
I mean, those illustrated editions of A Song of Ice and Fire are quite lovely. So I get that.
Yeah, I didn't own it. I read it years ago, and I sold the paperbacks at some point. So I just recently bought a
nice.
Yeah. So I mean, and then it sticks out like an eyesore, and of course, I'm sure there's like wet marks on the pages somewhere down here and stuff because I got caught in the storm. It was in my backpack, and I was just like walking into work from the bus stop, and but I really want a nice. I take pride in my shelf now, like, and I have this one back here, and I have another slender one with all my Abercrombie and a bunch of other books, but I want more, and I want it to look really good. So, and I think once I get that, I could probably take appreciation for a book that kind of is looks beat up. But I bought that whole Malazan series back there, and they just look so beautiful. Their covers are awesome, but even on the spines, they have a little bit of the front cover on it, and they look gorgeous in my opinion. And I'm like trying not to crease the spine because I still want it to look good when I put it back. But then, as you go along, you find out that there are absolutely gorgeous books that other people make of Malazan that are like $300, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll beat these up and I'll get one of them then.
Were you already here when we were talking about that earlier, or did you join after?
Yeah, the broken binding.
It
was funny because you brought it up, and you could see Tori. She started like getting excited. She's like, "I want to talk about this. I'm ready." And I was like, "I'm gonna let Tori."
I only have 3 different formats of Dead House Gates. I could use another one.
And broken binding. I only recently got on their subscription list, and my latest video is coming out tomorrow, and I did an unboxing of the first book I got from them, and it's really nice. It's the Tide Child trilogy.
I love
all that, and the special editions. If you take all 3 of them, the sprayed page edges line up and create one picture across all 3 books. And it's just this really strong black and white, looks kind of like a woodcut, and it's really, really nice. I don't know how the books are. I've heard they're very good. I want to read them, so I opted in with that one. Kev.
Nice, Kev.
How did you do that, Kev? I mean, like,
he's got the bigger one. I think he doesn't have the trade paperback, right? He has.
Yeah, but still, I mean, Crippled got his like 1,400 pages. How do you read that and not crease it?
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I have hardcovers of 3 of them, but I bought the rest in trade paperback because I was like, I read the first 4 in mass market, and I still have them. My Dead House Gates copy is all beat up. But I wanted the bigger books because they're not as intimidating when they're like that thick instead of, the chunker mass markets.
Yeah.
And I feel better about being able to just read them, and I probably won't, it won't be cracking the spines or anything like that. But I don't know, like, I'm actually thinking about at some point potentially replacing my hardcovers with trade paperbacks because I don't like reading hardcovers. That's one of the reasons why special editions don't get me as easily. So it's like, I don't want to just buy it because like I'm too practical for that.
Somewhere in between just a reader and a collector.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm in a phase right now. Like, I spent all of my life, pretty much since I was 9 years old, moving constantly. Like, I recently tried to count how many buildings I've lived in, and I lost track after 50. So I've always kind of hesitated to have too many things because I'm
Yeah.
like, if I get more things, that's one more box, and I have to take it to the other side of the world with me, or I have to sell it all later, or whatever. So I've always kind of been like, once I got a Kindle, I was like, I'm only reading Kindle books forever. And now I'm old enough and I've got a nice flat and I've got a good situation. I'm like, I like the city. I like my flat. I want to stay here for a while. So the first, when I moved in, there was no kitchen. And the first thing I did for building a kitchen was I had a carpenter build that really big bookshelf that's behind me, and all of that's built in. It's like attached to the wall. So I've really gotten into buying books now, and I've got some, not that many, but I've got some special editions which are really pretty, and I don't read them. Because again, like you said, they're big, they're heavy, the format's kind of weird for just holding in your hand, and I don't really read them. And I have the paperbacks of the same thing to read, just like Kev said. But I don't know. There's still an acquisitiveness in me right now, anyway, where I want the nice ones, and I'm already getting nervous about not being able to get the entire set of the Broken Binding Malazan books. Because if there is a set of special editions
like
that I should have,
isn't it? It's not coming.
yeah, I know. Like I can already see it. I will forget.
Yep.
Overlook an email.
Oh no, we'll be.
They'll go special.
Brooke and I'll be reminding you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, and to be perfectly honest, I mean, I anticipate it's going to be beautiful, but every once in a while, they'll come out, and I don't love the covers and their special editions, but it's just not like, I was really glad that I was able to get a hold of the older Sun Eater hardcovers, because I'm not a big fan of the new ones. And I think, like, I'm super excited that they're printing more of them and that they're going to have the cool special editions. Because it's ridiculous that you can't get them. But I like the old covers better. So
the old covers are that one. Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
There is a newer paperback that's out. I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't either.
Yeah. The newer ones are the ones which, like, every cover is just a guy standing on a moon in slightly different color. Yeah. Those are the UK covers.
So.
Or blue in there a little bit. And
I was not a fan of those either.
This is the only reason I haven't bought Sun Eater, the series, yet, because over here, the only ones I can get are the UK covers, even paperback. Like, it's really hard to find the American covers. And I look at the two of them, and I'm like, the American covers look hot as shit, and the UK covers just look like it. I just don't like them at all.
I mean, worst case scenario, you could, enough people in the US that we could probably scrounge you up a set and send it over.
Yeah, but again, postage, I mean.
But if you're getting if you're reading the mass market paperbacks, it's probably not going to be any more expensive than buying the UK, like the full set of the larger paperbacks.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I wish there were trades.
Yeah.
I mean, with the good covers.
Yep.
But they're not like Malazan thick, are they?
I mean,
they're chunky. Like, I saw Dan's. Hold yours up, Dan.
They're chunky.
This is
okay. It's kind of Malazan thick, like one of the smaller Malazan books.
And look, I mean, this is it's like one of the Malazans, because your words are all tiny and stuff like that. So
well, and Demon and White, like, I'm just looking at the stack of the hardcovers too, and Demon and White is a bit thicker than the other two, so that's probably the biggest one in the series, I think, so far.
Kev says trades are coming.
Yay.
So yeah, maybe I'll just wait. It's not like I don't have enough to read.
Well, it's such a, from what I've heard, and I haven't read it yet, but I've heard so many people who love that series. I'm like, it kind of blows my mind, like with Malazan too, that we don't just have access to like hardcovers and that kind of stuff of these major series. It's weird.
Yeah, Malazan. I mean, I'm a huge Malazan fan. I can't get the trades over here at all.
Yeah.
Just not possible here. So I've got the 10 books stacked up vertically, and then next to them I've got Esselmont's books, which are trades.
Mm-hmm.
They are all much taller, so they're standing. So my Malazan looks like an absolute mess. Okay, Kev says Empire is 700-ish, Howling Dark is 800-ish, Demon and White 900-ish. So yeah, small Malazan books. And then books 4 and 5 are shorter. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's something I've thought about recently. When I started reading voraciously, there was no chance ever that you were going to talk to an author, like a well-known popular author. Just wasn't going to happen. And even smaller authors, I just wouldn't have known like 30 years ago where I'd have to go to a conference and probably wait in line to talk to them for 2 minutes, or at a book signing or something, But now, the main reason I want to read the Sun Eater series is because I've seen Rocchio on so many interviews on BookTube, and he seems like such an amazingly intelligent and nice guy. And like just listening to him talk, I'm like, I'm sure you could write a good book, apart from hearing that books are so good. And it's also amazing with Erickson, he'll do an interview with anybody,
Clearly.
Yeah, I mean, even one of us.
I had when I dropped like my second video. When I started 4 months ago, I put my second video was Gardens of the Moon review, and I could have like 25 viewers. You know what I mean? And I would say like a week later, all of a sudden, this guy Steve Lupin comments on my videos, say, "Hey, this is Essie here. Blah. Drambuie Dan is a good name. I like it." And and I'm just like, this guy's fucking with me. Like somebody is pulling my leg, and it's not fun. So I literally type back. I'm like, this is the internet, man. So I'm a little skeptical that who you are. But if you are not him, like, this is a cruel joke. But if you are him, bro, thanks for stopping by. I'm freaking floored. He's like, yeah. He types back, yeah, I question who I am sometimes too. But it is me. And my wife and I are both losing our shit. I'm like, and she like looks him up. She's like, he's on the internet is Steve Lupin. I'm like, oh my god,
London. His real name is Stephen London.
London, that's it.
Yeah. Erickson is his writing name.
Okay.
His pen name.
I probably should have known that, but I was only one book in. Okay.
Yeah, sure. That video was actually, I think, the first video of yours that I commented on, because I was like, dude, your second video and you got Steve to write a comment?
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing videos for like 8 months before he wrote a comment on one of mine. Mm-hmm. I did a Death and Rebirth and Malazan Book of the Fallen video, and he commented on that, but that was the first time, and I already done like 5 Malazan videos. Obviously he wasn't impressed by any of them, but your second video, you got the man himself.
I did thank him. Like, so I have this thing where I like, when I'm doing a video, I like thank the author like directly. I'm just like, I guess it was Zach Argyle. It was my last video, and I'm like, dude, you had me like the teenager, in this book. Congrats, Zachary. And like, I talked to the author like directly, and I did that in that video. I'm like, Steven Erickson, us big people, thank you. So I think maybe he saw that. I was like, damn, I guess I should probably comment on this.
So should we do another sprint? It's half past, so we go until the hour again. Yeah.
Oh,
Steve thinks all the YouTubers in God Is Not Willing. Okay. Interesting. I'm sure he only means AP and Philip.
Right.
Anyway, enjoy your reads. Hello.
Greetings.
Not irregular Hayward. Almost done with Royal Assassin.
Regal is the worst.
Regal is the worst until you get to Live Ship Traders.
And then Kyle is the worst.
Kyle is so
from what I've heard.
So the worst.
But Regal is pretty worst.
Regal is a royal ass, yes. Apparently there are not many wanks in Servants of the Wank.
Who'd have thought?
There's lots of servants instead of wanks. Roy Kent has entered the chat.
Hey Ray, how's it going?
Hooray. And Jen is here.
Jen?
Hey, Jen. 70% Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. I've never read any Abraham. I am committed probably in summer to doing a long price quartet buddy read with Joanna and Tori. You're joining us?
Well, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm starting to think that there may be multiple long price quartet read-alongs going on.
I've seen some people talking about it recently, like they're reading it now.
Yeah, and then like Pete from Ponderings of Pete and I are going to read it, I think, starting in June.
That could work.
So we might just be able to merge that.
The original plan was when A Song of Ice and Fire read-along is finished.
Sure.
That's chunky and takes up a fair bit of time. That we would put that in, and we talked about it recently and said, yeah, late spring, early summer. We haven't really made a very concrete plan, but I'll talk to her about June, and maybe we could do it together. That'd be cool.
I'm committing to at least 2, I think, of the quartet in June, and then we'll just see like how it goes.
Yep.
I'm not going to stick to like any specific, I'm only going to read like 1 per month, because I think I have to be really careful that I don't spread things out too much.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going to try and read at least the first 2 in June, and if I can roll through more than that, we'll see.
Yep.
That's the nice part, is that even though it's a quartet, each book is pretty short.
The individual books are not too big, yeah.
Right. So it shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, after Alan raving sort of nonstop about it forever.
Yep.
I feel like I should read it. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I honestly have no idea what to expect as far as where I'm going to land on how I feel about it. I have no idea.
I don't either.
I know almost nothing about it.
Yeah, same here. I know very little about it. I have heard from a lot of people. Even one of my offline friends, my local Berlin friends, visited me recently, and he was looking at my shelf, and he was like, "Oh, you've got Long Price Quartet. It's so good." I was like, "Okay, I've only ever heard about it on BookTube. I don't think I've ever met someone in person who has read it." But yeah. Rogue says it's amazing.
That's what I've been hearing. I have heard that there's a huge payoff in books 3 and 4. That's really the, like, from what I understand. Yeah. Right. So I'm going into it not having any expectations, especially of the first 2.
Yeah.
As just kind of because I think I'm trying to remember who I was talking to that said you literally have to read it as a book and in 4 parts.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm really curious. Daniel also, it's great.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, me too. I don't think. I mean, some books. I was just saying in the video I recorded yesterday that Piranesi is a book that is very mixed in its reception. Mm-hmm. Yeah. this month I've got Mad Ship and the third book of the Book of the New Sun, which is a read along with Philip. And after that, in this video, I was saying, I'm not committing to anything because I overcommitted wildly at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did.
Yeah. And I just held up like a stack of books and I was like, I just picked these up off the shelf. That's my mood now.
Yep.
We'll see what my mood is when I get through the 2 books I promised. But Piranesi was one of them. And it's interesting because a lot of people I trust loved it. And a lot of people didn't love it. But the reasons they didn't love it make me think I'll love it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is why not loving a book does not always mean that that's a bad thing.
No.
Yeah.
No, Jerome. I have heard from a bunch of people that they found it boring or confusing or I don't know what. But it seems like kind of 50-50. Like a lot of people really loved it and a lot of people were like,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yes, Rogue, you do. Live Ship is, I wouldn't say it's better than the Farseer trilogy because it's so different.
Yeah.
Farseer is first person, single protagonist, single POV. We're just following Fitz and what Fitz does. And Live Ships is, I don't know, 6 or 8 different POVs. It's much more like a lot of fantasy, like Song of Ice and Fire or something. Each chapter, or sometimes in the middle of a chapter, the POV switches. You might be in a totally new place with totally new things going on, and it jumps around a lot more, and it's got a much bigger main cast.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good. I would say it's at least as good as Farseer, and I loved Farseer. Live Ships is really, really good.
Live Ships is a trilogy that I intend to finish in 2023. That is a goal of mine. So
it's definitely worth it. Yeah, and some people like DK
I've
Moon.
heard that a lot.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, Farseer was a bit too slow for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Live Ships is a lot faster. There's a lot more drama and action, a lot more happening, and.
Well, and like the Farseer was slow for me, and again, I read it a while ago when I was not as used to slower burn fantasy, and now I feel like I'm more forgiving of that just as a reader because I'm used to it more, and I even enjoy it quite often. But I still enjoyed, and especially the third book, I remember just being, bawling, and So I think if I enjoyed Farseer to that extent, I'm pretty sure that the subsequent trilogies are going to be, I
think I say if you didn't like Farseer, give Live Ships a go.
Yeah.
Because it's just so different.
Yeah.
And if you loved Farseer, you will love Live Ships probably at least as much.
Mm-hmm.
Except sometimes, like somebody was saying on the Discord, I think yesterday, I forget who it was. Somebody said that they were kind of hate reading Live Ships at the beginning because they wanted Fitz back.
Don't hate read anything. Put it down.
Well,
don't do that to yourself.
They said they got like a quarter of the way through Ship of Magic, and then they were like, this is actually pretty good even without Fitz.
I say that, going back to my first experience with Malazan, and how I felt when we completely shifted to a brand new set of, to say I wasn't frustrated in the beginning of some of the Malazan books would be a lie. So I get it. But
for the first quarter of Midnight Tides, I wanted to punch Steve in the throat. Mm-hmm. I was just like,
that's the book that I stopped on because I was like, what is this? Who are these people?
Yeah. It's like beginning an entirely new series.
Yep.
And of course he weaves it all back together in later books. And if you get to like a third or half at the latest of Midnight Tides, I challenge you to not fall in love with the characters in it.
Yeah.
But I was irritated to start with. So
Yeah. Give me my characters back.
exactly. See, this is the thing. Highway Cavalier. I was a little bored with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It was long, and it felt like, I don't know, there were a lot of interesting thoughts in it, but not much happened, and it just felt really slow.
That was a book that I unhauled after I finally was honest with myself and said, I don't think that this book is going to be for me as a reader. Like, it's not going to jive with me, I don't think.
I read the whole thing, and it's a chunky book, but
Yeah.
I wasn't like on fire for it.
Mhm.
And when I realized that Piranesi is the same author, Susanna Clarke, I was like, oh,
Hesitant.
really? But
At least Piranesi is a lot shorter.
well, and also what Daniel said, Piranesi is way different.
Yeah.
Could be a different author, you know? It's very high concept without losing good character work.
Nice. So,
yeah. Yeah, exactly, Jerome. This is something I've been expecting. Like Jimenez with The Spear Cuts Through Water is just like not like any fantasy I've ever read before. Piranesi, I expect something similar. You know, I've got a bit of a feeling like that. Slow with little action, but I really loved it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the Farseer trilogy. I haven't read Fool's Assassin, or have I?
Book one of the last trilogy.
No,
I think.
the last trilogy is the only bit I haven't read.
Right.
But somehow Hobb does slow with little action so well that it's still very entertaining and enjoyable. You know, like the Farseer trilogy is super introspective. We get a lot of internal stupidity and conflicted thinking. You're muted, Tori.
Would he be as endearing if he was
smart?
So much smarter than he is.
No.
No.
I mean, like I've said many times before. I mean, I'm quoting Derry, who's the Robin Hobb expert of the world. Derry said, yes, Fitz is an idiot, but he's our idiot.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. No, I
think that's how a lot of his friends look at him too.
Yeah, I totally love Fitz. And somehow Hobb, I mean, it's really cool to read Farseer and then Live Ships pretty close to each other. Like I've been doing one a month since January, because in Farseer, you could think that Hobb doesn't really do action well, that she doesn't really do fast-moving plot very well, she doesn't do multiple characters very well or anything. And then you read Ship of Magic and you're like, oh, wait a sec. Okay, I was
Never
wrong.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She does all of those things super. She's just telling very different stories.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Piranesi, but actually, for the first time, I decided to open it up to my patrons, and said, you know, here's some books that I think are probably interesting, and vote on them.
Yeah, I did that this month too.
Yeah, and they're all relatively small. Some of them are very small, like Fictions.
That's the thing. You have
Borges.
to be like, when you give your patrons the option to vote on a book for you, be careful with the grouping that you give them. Like, if you're not in the mood for a chunker, make sure you don't put one on the list.
These are all. I had If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler by Italo Calvino.
Okay.
I had Fictions by Borges, which is like a short story collection that's as thick as your finger. I had Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Yeah.
Oh, Ben would have been happy about that one.
Yeah, it's also Mike of Mike's Book Reviews.
Yep.
It's one of his favorite books that
Nice.
he's read, I think, many times, and reread last year, I think. And that's what I thought, that's a title that it's on that you probably should have read it list, kind of, for
Yeah.
me.
The canon.
Yeah, well, it's just like there are certain books that you hear the titles a million times throughout your life. And then you hear it again, you're like, damn it, I'm just going to go ahead and read that now.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yes, Jen. Book 2, in my opinion, is a huge level up from book 1. And not that I didn't enjoy book 1, but the things that I wanted more of, or I wouldn't even say disliked, but like was kind of taking issue with in book 1, I feel like in book 2 are not an issue as much. The characterization is even more than it was in book 1. My least favorite character has changed. Which is a good thing, I think.
Who's your least favorite character before and after?
So before, I really was having a hard time with Pharaoh because I just there's nothing here. I'm just not. But I actually like her in book 2 much more than I did in book 1. And with some of the things that you find out about her in book 2, it makes a little bit more sense that she's different. We'll just put it that way for anybody who hasn't read it. Yeah. Baez is my least favorite now.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm so bored by him. I can't even handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I remember the feeling as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a big thing for him at the end or something, unless Abercrombie decides to completely subvert that and something else happens, which is totally possible. But
right. I remember, I think it was one of her recent videos, Joanna, I think she was reading The Trouble with Peace.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the later books after the trilogy. And one of the things she said was she always kind of had a bit of a problem with Abercrombie's female characterization.
Yep.
And that he got the hang of it. He definitely got the hang of it in later books, and it just got much, much better.
That is, I mean, I liked in book 1, Artie West. I thought she was really, of the female characters I've read of this series so far, I liked the best. Pharaoh, and then you meet another female character in book 2. They feel very similar-ish and not there's not much there. And I think Pharaoh's improving a little bit in this book, but she's still not, I mean,
right.
I'm not attached to her in any way. So, which I'm definitely, this book has me strapped in for the long haul with the series. I think I've been told for my reading taste that I need to get to the heroes, is what I've been told, because everybody thinks that I'm going to absolutely love that because it's just a giant battle, and I'm here for that. And I also heard rumor that there's my favorite Motley Crew of Northmen may or may not be involved in that book, so I'm here for that.
I haven't read anything but the first trilogy.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, but I've heard the same things.
Yep.
What I've heard about the heroes, I definitely think it would be your kind of thing.
I'm excited.
So Jerome says I still need to read Cosmic Comics. Yes, Jerome, I know, I do.
All the things we need to read.
I want to read If on a Winter's Night a Traveler first. And then I will read Cosmic Comics, I promise. Or if you're really keen for me to read it, Jerome, it's on my Amazon wish list. Hint, hint. So you could guarantee that I will read it. No, I'm joking. Don't buy me a book. I need to buy a new shelf before I get any new books. So L.E. Motorsit is reminiscent of Hobb. I've never heard of that author.
I have not read anything by them though.
Okay. Rogue, should you read 20 Men if you're mixed on Assassin's Quest? I would agree with Daniel. I'd say yes. I mean, if you were mixed on it, that means to me you finished it, the trilogy, and you enjoyed it enough at least to finish it. Therefore, I would say yes, read 20 Man, because 20 Man goes off in a way that Farseer didn't really.
Mm.
But I would also agree with Daniel. Read Live Ships first, right? It's a totally different story. Like I said, it's got multiple POVs and there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's much more fast-paced and dramatic, and there's all sorts of stuff happening, which makes Farseer look really slow. But the important thing about it, if you're interested in the realm of the Otherlings, is it also is world building without end. Like, there isn't much world building in Farseer. It's very character focused. It's very Fitz focused, and it gets into the skill and the wit, the magic stuff a bit. But the world as a whole is a lot weirder than you see in Farseer. And in Live Ships, a lot of it starts to come out, and you start learning a lot more about the world, which is pretty crazy stuff. And if you want to go and read the Rangwilds later, you kind of have to have read Live Ships, because a lot of the stuff that builds up in Live Ships comes back and is connected to Rangwilds books. Kev didn't like the heroes, but who cares what Kev thinks? He does say you would love it, though.
I mean, that's what I've been told, because apparently that's my cup of tea, according to people who have read it. I don't know what that... Usually other people know my reading taste better than I do, so we'll see if they're right. Nice.
I mean, if it has a motley crew and lots of battles in it, I would kind of put it on the Tory list. Yeah.
If, with the caveat that if I already know the motley crew and already love them, it's definitely going to be,
yeah,
for sure. If my thing is with a lot of fantasy books, I think sometimes people think like, oh, you'll just love it because it's super battle heavy and action focused and stuff. And I'm like, yes, but if you don't give me really deep characters to care about and emotionally invest in, you can have all the action battle sequences in this book that you want, and I'm not going to love it. I've read books like that before. Yeah. So it really depends on if I'm super emotionally invested in the characters and it's a military fantasy, then it's a really good fit for me usually.
Speaking of which, you and I still need to read Black Company.
Yes, which honestly is one of the shorter books on my immediate TBR. So
the first book is not long.
Yeah. Maybe June might actually not be. I don't know what you're doing in June.
Maybe reading LPQ with you.
Right. We could just make it a Matt and Tori read books together month.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, because I really want to get to Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser too.
I want to reread. Yeah.
What am I looking at with that in terms of pacing? Because it's a chunk. The book that you sent me is like that.
The book that I sent you is 4 books.
Okay, that makes more sense. Then I'm less afraid of it.
If we're just talking about the first book, it's about as thick as a finger. Like it originally was a mass market paperback that's like this thick. It's not huge at all. Nothing like that.
Well, that changes my hesitation on that. Cool.
Back in the 70s, nobody wrote really thick fantasy
That's
books.
what I was really surprised when I got it, because I was like, man, this is a chunk.
I have both. There's 2 of those chunky books, and they're like this thick together, but that's like 9 stories.
Okay, so it's kind of like the Elric of Melniboné set, where it's like, okay.
Exactly.
That makes more sense.
It's just collecting together books that originally came out as individuals.
Well, you know what I could do, because I'm thinking about doing a series later, like as we go through the summer, where I do BookTube bestie vlogs, where I pick like 3 books that I know somebody that I'm friends with on BookTube really likes, and do a vlog, and then maybe I could do the first book of that and Black Company, and then one other one, and just do a Mad on Books BookTube bestie vlog.
Sure. Okay, I'll think about the other one and try and think of something that isn't very thick.
Try to send me something that's like also this 900-page book.
Exactly. Why don't you read The Crippled God?
Yeah, okay. I'll just see if you
Loved that
challenged
book.
me with that, I would just read it out of order just to make everyone squirm. Be like, I didn't know what was happening,
That-
guys.
That would make me squirm as well, so I will not give that one to you.
I will get there, though. I will get there.
There is a lot that there pretty much everything in that book you would have no fucking idea what was going on.
Knowing Erickson from the first 4 books, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean his whole structure in each individual book is a bunch of disparate stuff that comes together at the end. And that's also the structure of the entire series.
Right.
So all of the books have a bunch of disparate stuff and it all comes together at the Crippled God. And yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing. Crazy good book. I will back up DK Moon and say, yes, Rogue, if you've read Farseer, especially actually if you were mixed on Farseer, read Live Ships because it's really good. Do not skip it. Do not jump ahead to 20 Man. I think Daniel is
that was
talking
about
about
Modestet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how many books he's written, I still haven't heard of him. But I assume if he managed to publish 100 books, he's probably pretty good. Black Company is so good. I read Black Company, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and I got really into it. I loved it. And then I burned out on it because I was just like, bang, bang, bang. There are like 10 or 12 or something of them. And I read like 9 of them back to back in quick succession. And I was like, ugh, I'm a little sick of the Black Company now. So I never finished the whole thing. But
that's another one I'm not sure where I'm gonna end up landing on that one. If I'm gonna I think I'm gonna be kind of ifsies on it, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure because I mean, if you like the soldier view in Mazen,
I do,
and the battles,
I do,
and the sort of the camaraderie of this weird group of people who are all soldiers together, Erickson kind of got that from Black Company, right? He was inspired by Glenn Cook partially. So I don't think you'll dislike it.
Yeah.
Love the characters in Farseer. Thought
That's kind of
Assassin's Quest was really paced. Yeah. Assassin's Quest is a weird book. It felt like 2 books to me.
Yeah.
And one book is Fitz Goes Somewhere. And that's it.
Yep.
And if you don't like being in Fitz's head, it's probably boring as hell. And then the last third of it is almost a different book, which has a kind of a different point, you know. But okay, so you loved Farseer. Yeah, definitely read Live Ships, Rogue. You have to promise me you're going to read Live Ships because it's pretty amazing. I am now third-ish on towards half-ish through the second book of Live Ships, and it's really good. The characters are even better because you actually get in them as POV. It's not just Fitz's stupid thoughts about other people. It's you actually are in that other person as a third person POV. So yeah, highly recommended. Heard so much good stuff about the Black Company. Afraid to read it in case you don't like it. I would just say read it. And that will solve the problem because then you'll know either that you have a large series that you love or that you don't have to pay any more attention to them.
It's not, I mean, I have the mass market paperback and it's like
first book is not thick at all.
No.
Rogue just reread it.
Nice.
Fritz Leiber is underrated. I agree. Fritz Leiber is, I mean, it's a very particular kind of style and writing. Yeah, it's sword and sorcery, straight up sword and sorcery, and you've got a sneaky con artist thiefy kind of guy who's best friends with a philosophical barbarian.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
he's sold.
it's one of the, like, I'm trying to think. I mean, you can kind of say Elric and Moonglum are a buddy pair. but not really, because Ulrich is so much more powerful than Moonglum. Moonglum is very much a sidekick, but Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser are definitely a buddy pair.
Mhm.
They both, neither is more important than the other, and they bring their own personalities and talents to what they're doing. And it's one of the first buddy stories that I know of in fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, just like two bromance kind of guys.
Yep.
And it's very cool. It's very, very cool. I like it
I'm
a lot.
excited.
DK Moon, I'm going to kick you from the stream now. You did what?
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that actually irritates me, and it's something I've been really happy about with Orbit Books specifically. They're the only publisher I know that marks very clearly and consistently which number in a series the book is.
yes.
They put it on the spine, they put it on the front cover. Everybody else doesn't. And I have picked up Malazan books, and I mean, I've got a bad memory for like names of books and whatever. I've picked up Malazan books and thought it was 4 and it was 5.
Mhm.
And I've read them before, you know.
Well, once you get into like, I think I have the order down now, but once you get into like Bone Hunters through Toll the Hounds, I always was getting those 3 kind of mixed around.
Bone Hunters, Reaper's Gale,
Then Toll the Hounds.
Toll the Hounds. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I know that now because I had to put them on my shelf in the right order.
Right. Yeah, this is Modosit again. Most prolific yet almost entirely unknown author out there. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like anyone who's published 100 books, I assume in fantasy, and I've never heard of them. That's strange.
So, Daniel, for those of us who have never read, I'm assuming it's pronounced Modesit or something close to that.
Modosit, yeah.
Modesit. Where, like, what would be a book that somebody would start with if they hadn't read
Exactly.
before?
Recommend us a Modesit book. Tanith Lee. No, I wouldn't say Tanith Lee is nearly as unknown, but that's just me. I've heard of Tanith Lee. I haven't heard of Modosit.
I haven't heard of
Or
Tanith
Modesit.
Lee, but I have heard of Modesit. So,
Yeah. Daniel's saying that Tanith Lee is more horror, maybe? Yeah, Malazan doesn't say anywhere which number they are. You have to open up the book, flip a couple of pages until they have the list, and then they're in order. And Daniel doesn't know how to pronounce the name. Recommend us one fantasy and one sci-fi. How about that? I think. Oh yeah, book 5 is Midnight Tides.
I can see that. Yeah.
I mean, like Midnight Tides is a new. It feels like a new series, even if you've read the first 4. It's like it's a totally new place you've never seen before. It's totally new characters you've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It has no.
So it's not like it's going to spoil much.
It can't spoil much, and it would make as much sense as Gardens of the Moon would when you start reading it. You know, because you don't know anything. So, SFF 180 reviewed some recent Modesit books. Was that a statement? Kanar
I think
Affin?
so. Oh.
In response to what? Realm of the Eldlings.
Can be a statement by itself.
Realm of the Eldlings! Yeah.
Daniel, I was guessing about Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser that Royce and Hadrian were probably like a subsequent kind of archetype following that. So, and I enjoyed them. So,
yeah. Rogue Promised. Everyone heard it here live. Rogue Promised. Do not skip live ships. Royce and Hadrian. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. There's sort of three main characters in a way. There's basically Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, the two of them, but then they do a lot of work for what's his name? Shilba of the, I don't know. Someone who's read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, let me know. There's this very weird, mysterious kind of wizard, maybe, that they do a bunch of work for. And Jen has never read Malazan. What ties them together as a series? They're not all in different places with different characters. We're talking specifically about the fifth book, jumps to a totally new place.
And they kind of, like in the first four at least, they kind of skip back and forth where, you know, with like there's an arc in Dead House Gates that follows through into House of Chains, and there's some in Gardens that go to Memories of Ice and like that kind of stuff. So it's not like completely unrelated every time.
And especially in the first four, like the first one is on a continent with some characters. The second one is on a different continent with some of the previous characters and a bunch of new characters. The third one goes back to the first continent, and the fourth one goes back to the second continent. So, and all of those, the characters overlap and are connected, kind of. The fifth one is weird because it jumps to a totally new place with none of the characters you've seen before. But then characters from the first four books go to the place that is introduced in the fifth book. Yeah. So from then on, it's all of these things coming together. That's kind of what convergence is Erikson's thing. And that's the structure of each book is disparate people and places and things going on, and they come together at the end. The whole series, same structure, all over the place, and then closer and closer and closer, and then at the end, everything meets. So that's what ties them together as a series, I would say. Apart from the excellent writing.
And really emotional character scenes.
Yes. It's amazing to me. I mean, Erikson and Hobb, especially in live ships, they can, with so few words and so little dwelling on it, they can make you care about a character or make you change your mind about a character. There's a character in live ships who at the beginning you're just like, this guy is an evil asshole villain. And then about halfway through, you're like, damn it, I understand him.
Yep.
And Erikson does that all the time as well. So Daniel says, I don't know sci-fi very well, but I did like Gravity Dreams. See, that I have heard of. Gravity Dreams is a title I've heard. For fantasy, I guess Recluse is probably good, but it's also 23 books. And they're in random order chronologically. Okay. That's interesting, but you don't need to read them all, apparently. The first is a standalone, takes place almost last in timeline. Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser are apparently based on the author himself and a friend.
That's a fun way to write.
Yes, Kev, that's right. The fifth book, Midnight Tides, chronologically happens before the first book. It's not before, is it? I thought it was kind of concurrent with either Gardens or Dead House Gates. Anyway, yeah, they jump around in time, but actually only that one mostly is jumping around in time, because then the next one goes back to the normal timeline. Anyway, doesn't matter. After 2 years, I'm still on Memories of Ice. Just can't get through it. There is no help for you, Knorraffen, because Memories of Ice is one of the best books in the series. If you can't get through it, it may not be for you. But if you've been on it for 2 years, I would recommend reading a summary to remind yourself before you continue reading. Because there's just so much going on in all Malazan books, but especially that one. Recent series may actually be the best recommendation for Odessa. Malazan, what's better? Nothing. Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily, but I tend to agree. It has changed the way I look at all other fantasy I read. Completely changed. Yeah. Yeah. If you can't get through Memories of Ice, Memories of Ice is like everybody. I've heard people do like rankings of the 10 books, and everybody's ranking is different. But almost everybody I've ever heard puts Memories of Ice in the top 3.
Yeah.
And for me, it would be absolutely the same. Memories of Ice is way up there. It's yeah. Okay, it's slightly before. Midnight Tides is slightly before Gardens. Yeah. Yes, Memories of Ice is pretty dark. I mean, Dead House Gates is not a bright and shiny.
I was gonna say, are
Joyride.
any of them like? Because House of Chains also is like the beginning. I remember reading the beginning of House of Chains and feeling I'd been slapped in the face.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like,
and for people who've read the complete series, the snake. Once you get to the snake, which I think starts in Dust of Dreams, the snake was some of the darkest shit in the whole thing for me.
yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, the snake was pretty heavy. Yeah, Kev says Dust of Dreams was the darkest. Yeah, the snake. It's not a big spoiler or anything to say what the snake is. The snake is a long line of children who've been driven out by war out of where they live, and they are marching across the desert and continually dying. And it goes on for many chapters. And the snake was fucked. Yes. That was the heaviest thing for me. Everybody reacts to different things differently, but like children hiking across a desert and dying was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dust of Dreams was dark. So yeah, it's not a cozy read. Malazan is anything but a cozy read. So why don't we do one more sprint?
Yes, I'm going to, I think, pop out because I have to get ready for my live show at in an hour and 15 minutes. So
cool.
Thanks for having me on, Matt.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. See you later.
We'll see you guys later.
So everybody, just me. Let's sprint until 1:15. And then I will have to go. But let's have another half an hour of reading. Everybody enjoy your read, and I'll see you soon. Hello. Everyone had a good reading. If you've read The Live Ship Traders, I am currently completely overcome with a strong desire to slap Malta. She is such an annoying brat who ruins everything every time she even moves. Oh my God. Hello. Part 1 done for Rogue, Age of Ash. Stackpole. I used to listen to a podcast about writing, and I think that was Michael Stackpole's podcast. So I've heard him speak, but I haven't read anything by him. He's written a lot, I know, and he's also ghost written a lot. Very prolific author. So everybody, DK Moon, love, yeah, she's an interesting character, no question. But if there was a child like that in my life, she's so annoying. Oh my God. And every time she thinks she can do something intelligent and grown up, she fucks it up as horribly as possible. Feeling like, yeah, sometimes I also get the feeling, especially when you're reading a thick book, when there's only 100 pages left, it feels like you're near the end, but it's still 100 pages. That takes some time. I would read 100 pages in about 2 hours if I was pretty concentrated. So yeah, it's not super, super close to the end. But yeah, that happens. Listen, everybody, it is late here. I'm going to get myself a little food and maybe watch some television and then go to bed. Tomorrow is a work day, unfortunately. It has been a pleasure. Thank you all for joining me and reading with me, and Tori and Evie and Dan, who all one after the other had to leave. I have gotten in a bit of a habit of doing a sprint every weekend, so I'll probably do another one next weekend, maybe 2. So maybe I'll see you then. Have a great night, Jen and everybody else. And yeah, see you soon. And I've been on a bit of a break with my videos, but I've got a new one coming out tomorrow, which is sort of a wrap up of April reading and a May maybe TBR. So look out for that. It'll be out tomorrow morning EST. And have a lovely afternoon and evening. Thanks for joining me, Rogue and Elaine and Jen and Daniel and who else has been here? Jerome, but I think he already left, and DK and everybody. Yeah, sorry, Monique. Little bit late. Started a few hours ago. So I need to get going. See you all later. Happy reading.